Astrology is, I call it the divine science. It is actually a science. It's not what people think it is. It's very, very mathematical.
What is the single most shocking prediction you've seen in the charts?
And talk about timing, because Aaron, we are in the month that I see the most shocking prediction. Hasn't happened yet, but I know that July is the turning point globally in the world. And what I'm seeing is
Joni Patry, thank you for making time to be here.
thank you.
Joni, what is the single most shocking prediction you've seen in the charts in 25 and 26, the year 2025 and 2026? Is there anything that has been surprising to you of like, oh boy, the world's not seeing this coming?
Absolutely. And talk about timing, because Aaron, we are in the month that I see the most shocking prediction. Hasn't happened yet, but I know that July is the turning point globally in the world. And what I'm seeing is actually by July 20th, there's a conjunction of K2 and Mars. K2 is the south node of the moon, but when they come together, they usually indicate crises, war, violence, anger for sure. And it's not a really rare aspect, but when they do come together in certain signs, they predict a major event. So actually, they don't have to be exact for the event to happen. It is actually this whole month of July, but they're coming together in the sign of Leo. And this can mean some major event concerning strikes, war, attacks. And yes, it will involve a world leader as well that can have something major happen. I think there is a huge event that's going to change our entire outlook on the world this month. And um, this is huge that you're having me on right now, and it's right before what I'm seeing happen. Now, September 11th, 2001, that conjunction came together. Exactly. But they were in a different sign. They were in Sagittarius. Now they're in Leo. Leo deals more with world leadership and world leaders. So some event is happening due to this concerning a world leader. But I actually predicted in June, around the 20th of June and the 21st, that there would be an event that would lead to what is happening in July. Now, we all know what happened around June 21st, and that was where the United States sent the aircraft over to take out the nuclear facilities in Iran. And, going over there and doing that, it's not over. And that's what I'm seeing with this event in July.
How would you substantiate claims like this for a skeptical person?
Just wait and see.
And how would you substantiate claims like this from a, if you were to try to explain like the mechanics of astrology to a westernized materialist mind? How do you convey that as a translation? If this is actually where we're pulling this information from and why it makes sense to you.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. All of us want to know why or how something's happening. And I'm definitely one of those people. And astrology is, I call it the divine science. It is actually a science. It's not what people think it is. It's very, very mathematical. And most people have a very, very strong opinion about astrology, but they've never studied it. And I say you have to study it. It is a science and it's extremely mathematical. And what it does is it takes the energies of the planets and our universe and the stars and how they equate to Earth and personally for everyone, because these are vibrational frequencies. Can these frequencies be measured with the tools that we use today? My answer to you is no. They're trying to measure astrology with tools that are archaic, and they're dealing with frequencies that we don't have the means to actually measure yet. But we're coming up in the world with a lot of information with quantum physics and things of this nature, where we're able to start evaluating vibrational frequencies from a different perspective. But frequencies align up mathematically too. And, in a few sentences, I certainly can't explain how it works. But here's one thing I will tell you. I've been an astrologer for 45 years, and I cannot actually explain why it works, but I know it does. And I think with AI and everything in the future, the way the world is going, we're going to have a much better idea with research in astrology. Because here's the thing with astrology, most things happen, I'd say 75 to 80% of the time. And a scientist would say that's not good enough. We need 100% all the time. But here we go with the whole adage of free will. This deals with the energy. And like I'm saying, for the month of July, the energy is here for something huge to happen that will involve violence, an event that attacks, violence. There is so much anger in the world too right now. And this is displayed by these astrological, this conjunction. Mars is anger and violence. K2 makes it bigger. So when these two planets align, we have a very angry planet. And what happens when we have an angry planet is people react in such a way. But what I'm trying to say is people can change the future. And this is through taking a different choice. So, therefore, with the prospect of free will, sometimes the events that are due and could happen don't happen because of different choices. But when the ball's rolling and the momentum's going with the planetary energy, it's leading up to a big event. Can it be avoided or averted? Some people say yes, and many say no. So here is the dilemma we have with astrology: free will, and sometimes we can avert things. And scientifically, scientists would say that's not good enough. Does that make sense to you where I'm
Yeah.
going with this?
Would there be any objective predictions that you've made that are on your YouTube channel or online somewhere that has been like, OMG, that's pretty absurd? Like, there would be like a top two or three predictions that you've made, and
Absolutely.
and would there, and
Absolutely.
then would there also be some big predictions that you've made that were complete misses, where you're like, oh,
Yes.
that one didn't
I
work out?
I'd say more. I have more hits than misses, really and truly. And I'm not just saying that. And you can go onto my YouTube. One that's not there, but I absolutely it could be tracked if you so want it to be. I used to have a Japanese website for 7 years, and I would go through a translator and make predictions for Japan every month for 7 years. And right before the March 11th, 2011 earthquake, I warned everyone that March there would be a major earthquake in Japan. And once that was put out, Japan, people believe in astrology, right? I had so many thank you notes from the Japanese. I could go back and find those where they changed their weddings and their events to avert the month of March because of my prediction. So many people. So there you go. There's something that could be prevented. Don't plan your wedding in March of 2011 because of this earthquake. And they listened and they averted problems. But another major one that I predicted last year was I predicted that President Trump would have an assassination attempt. And I put it within a day of the actual event that where it occurred. And here's another thing: when these planetary energies are really, really, really strong and they hit dead on, sometimes the event can happen a day or two before or after the exact day. So I give like a week's time. So I got that one before it happened, of course. I actually predicted that President Trump would be elected both times that he was elected. So, what we do in this instance is we have birth charts for people, and that's how we can make predictions for individuals. And for world events, another thing is, and I know you're into this, Aaron, I predicted when Bitcoin would go sky high in the very initial start of it using the chart for the white papers. And that really helped a lot of people because, and if you go to my website, I actually have a video of many of the predictions that I made before they happened. So those are just a few.
I think I saw something, a video of you kind of having a, 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 a decent, not that vague prediction of the COVID as well. Did I
Oh,
see
yeah.
that?
Yes,
It was
absolutely. And
there's some type of sickness, some type of big like plague type thing that's coming around. Is what I think I saw. Did I see that?
yeah, no, absolutely. Let me give you a little rundown with that one. So, even in 2017, I was writing my book on the nodal axes, Rahu and Ketu, how I make my predictions, and what signs they're in every time we have a catastrophic event. So, when I was writing that book, I went back to 9/11 and I saw these placements of these 2 points where the eclipses fall. And I always say, as an astrologer, eclipses are huge predictive tools, but eclipses are caused because of the Rahu Ketu axes. So every time that we had these 2 points go into Sagittarius and Gemini, we had a catastrophic event. Now, these points in space take 18 and a half years to go through the whole zodiac and return back to these particular placements where catastrophic events happen. So I started with 9/11. I went back 18 and a half years prior to that, where they were in the same positions, and it was 1982. We had the AIDS virus. Then I went back 18 and a half years prior to that, and that was 1963, Kennedy's assassination. Then I went back 18 and a half years prior to that, and that was 1945, the bombing of Hiroshima. So it was 2017, and I calculated that in 2020, these points would go back to those positions every 18 and a half years. And I predicted that there would be an event in 2020, and I actually said January and February of 2020 that will change the world forever. And I predicted in that book this event. And I predicted in 2019, I told everyone, I have the videos, they're on my YouTube, to strengthen your immune system because there was some big virus that was about to come that could change the world. And 2020, there we go, it happened again. So I wrote my newest book to go forward 18 and a half years from 2020. We come up with the year of 2038. Another catastrophic event will happen then.
When do you see the next big financial collapse or global reset occurring?
Okay. Well, I actually, with this event that's going to happen in July, I see a big drop. Of course, when we have catastrophic events, it affects the stock market. So, July, we are looking at a big drop, but it won't stay there. And so I'm telling all my clients and students, hey, if you're interested in investing in the stock market and it goes down in July, absolutely invest in whatever stock you may feel compelled to invest in because the stock market's going to bounce back. And I actually see 2026 as being a prosperous year. About a year from now, I'm seeing where there's going to be a big healing, and there's going to be like a good age where whatever's due to happen this month of July, that there's going to be like a purging. There's something because of the anger, because of the building of energy from where the planets are. They're predicting this huge explosive event. It will be a healing because it's going to bring things to a head. And this is actually what needs to happen. Once everything comes to a head, then we're going to see where things have to come together. There will be a healing. And I think pretty quickly, by the end of this year, things will come to a healing. I think there's going to be some peace treaties that have to come about from this event. And what we're going to see is by the year of 2026, it will be a better world because of the purging that is about to happen. And it's going to create a healing.
Hmm. Do you see a new currency or digital financial system overtaking the dollar anytime
I don't
soon?
see it right away, but eventually, yes, absolutely. People couldn't understand how credit cards were going to work way back in the day. And now we have this trend to, you know, places don't accept money anymore. They don't accept cash. So, absolutely, there's going to be this trend to digital currency eventually. This will probably take a few years, though.
Do you see a global war coming, or do you see a path towards global peace or something in between?
Well, let me just say this: planet Earth is always cyclic. There will always be war and peace. And I think we're going to go through a good year in 2026. But I have to say this: 2030 is another year where it looks, I think if there's going to be a global war, it would happen in 2030. So we're going to have peace. But then again, that doesn't last. It never has. I wish it would. Mankind is not that evolved yet. I believe, the consciousness of humankind is not there yet. So we have another big cyclic path coming where things are going to really change by 2030. But we will have some time of peace in between.
What is going on here? Is there good and evil in the world? Could you look at a chart and say, ah, we got a Hitler or something of the sort? Or is most of something, a term I looked up before this in preparation for it was the Barnum effect, or the four effect, which is when an astrologer or a future predictor, psychic, something of the sort, says things to a person, and then they kind of develop like a confirmation bias or maybe even like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but they can kind of pick out certain things like, ah, you have issues with vulnerability that scares you, ah, there's something with your mother, and then the person's like, oh my god, it's me. So I think there's that one skeptical side of me that sits there, and then there's the other side of me as that kind of is like, I'm very interested and I love taking all this as just information to be able to create a more fuller picture of the world, of myself. But can you look in a chart? And sorry, the reason that I'm mentioning the Barnum effect is oftentimes when I hear astrological charts and things of the sort for a person, oftentimes it's like, you're amazing, you're a star, you're going to come up, oh my God, you're going to be wealthy, this is great. How often do you see a chart where you're like, ooh, this is
Yeah.
awkward? Or does that not happen?
Oh, it absolutely does happen, but not very often. I mean, some charts can have some obstacles that are so difficult, and even degrees or certain degrees with certain planets that I have seen where the people have really tough lives. For example, I'll give you this. There's a video I just filmed that hasn't come out yet on YouTube, but it's about Brian Wilson. Do you know who Brian Wilson is of the Beach Boys? Anyway, that's amazing. You don't know who Brian Wilson is. I guess it really shows my age, but you've heard of the Beach Boys, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I just don't know the individual
Okay.
characters of the Beach
Brian
Boys.
was
So,
the writer, the main singer,
got it.
but there's actually a whole video on his life, and he had a really rough life, and he was schizophrenic. He had all sorts of mental disease and problems. So I wanted to look at his chart to see how can I see the mental problems in a chart. And when I pulled it up, I saw all the things that I look for that causes mental disease. But there was one thing that really stood out. And it kind of shocked me because to be honest with you, I didn't see it till I started doing the video. And it was that his ascendant degree, see, a whole chart is like the map of where all the planets are when you were born, but the ascendant is based on your time. So when you have your chart done, it's actually so specific that we have to have your exact time of birth. So the ascendant degree changes every few minutes to give you the exactness of this. And his degree sat on this particular fixed star that's called a gull. And a gull is the worst fixed star. See, there's all these stars and they conjunct all these placements in your chart. And actually, the stars constitute the signs. They're like where these groupings of stars are what put together the signs, the 12 signs of the zodiac. So this star, it means beheading, actually. And people that have this star, I have noticed, have such difficult lives. Really, they have lives of addiction, alcoholism, drug abuse. They have many experiences where they deal with death and problems. So he had that star. So to answer your question, Aaron, yes, there are some things that you can see in a chart that can predict really difficult things in life. But here's what I think. Now, let me take this a step further that's really out there. You may think this is really crazy, but knowing you, probably not. Well, I believe in past lives and reincarnation. So, my thoughts on a birth chart is everything in that birth chart is representative of who and what you were before. And when we come into this world, we leave things off that are unfinished or undone in previous lifetimes. So that's why we come in with the whole alignments that really do give us the indication of the lessons we're here to learn or the things we're here to heal that we left unfinished in a last life. Therefore, that is why some of these difficulties we're born with, we have to live through, but we're here to heal them in order to not have to repeat them in the many lifetimes to come. So, what I can say is when I see something really difficult like that, it's something that's left undone, but it's something we're here to heal. And I believe with astrology, we can find what it is that we're here to heal. So we have a choice. And sometimes people don't come in with the highest level of consciousness. Maybe they're going to choose poorly again, but it keeps the whole cycle going. But one time, this is many years ago, many years ago, I did a chart reading for an individual that was a really tough chart. And come to find out, I'm not exaggerating, he was a murderer. And that was probably the worst one. So, would this person choose differently? It was way back in the beginning of my career. And I just remember, seeing this really tough chart. And, I told him he had a lot of obstacles and things to overcome. But still, all at the same time, it played out and he didn't change.
Yeah, my feeling is all paths lead towards truth, and truth, I believe, is rooted in love. and the sensation of fear or hatred or any of the sort is a form of fragmentation away from truth. And I believe there's some consciousness of some sort that I don't know exactly how to identify, that has a trajectory towards truth. So if you hold something that is a lie, that ultimately would be hatred, resentment, shame, that's all a lie. The natural directionality of the way that your life will go is you'll have relationships that might be explosive and feel damaging and terrible, but that actually opens you up to deeper truth. And then you get therapy, and then you see aspects of yourself. And then maybe you get in a fist fight, or maybe there's a war, but it's because there's an underlying driver of energy that's going towards the direction of truth and healing and light. And I think that that's where we're all going. And so everything that might seem really like terrible, it's like, yes, from a microscopic lens, it kind of is. It feels terrible. It looks terrible. And it actually is also simultaneously going towards the direction of deeper truth, which I think is love. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree with you more. 100%. That's exactly how I feel. So, you could say, is there evil in the world? Well, I used to say there's ignorance in the world. That evil is all based on ignorance. And yeah, there are these two forces in the universe that, if you want to really boil it down to what these forces are, it's negative and positive. That's what keeps the alignment of the planets. The cyclic alignments where the negative pull and the positive pull. But could you call it evil or light or dark? A lot of people do, but I agree with you, Aaron. 100%. It's about dysfunction and it's about ignorance, and we're all here to heal it. That's the whole purpose. What is the most what heals everything? Like you said, love. I agree.
Yeah. I also feel so. I'd imagine if I were in the position of an astrologer and I could see there was going to be some type of, oh, it seems like there's going to be like the potential for friction arising at this point, and with the deeper knowing that it's all going towards the intention of deeper truth and love, if that's like the operating system that I'm governed by, which it is. I could see having kind of like a somewhat, I don't know if beneficent is the right word, but like benign kind of lens on things of like, okay, this might be hard, and knowing it's rooted in going towards deeper truth. And so in that lens, I could kind of see how there would be, more often than not, if a person's like reading a chart, having that lens of seeing like ultimately this is where it's going, and it might be really hard along the way, but we still maintain rooting and like it's going somewhere deep towards deeper truth, which is healing. I don't know if that's a necessary explanation, but I'm trying to kind of put together why it does seem like there is that like Barnum effect, or like a lot of times where if you get a reading or something of the sort, it seems like it goes towards like positivity with most people that I talk to, and most people seem special as well. Like, is everybody special?
Yeah, they are. And you know what, I my way of looking at a chart is to empower people to be the best they can be, because you can see a planet where Mars, for example, deals with anger, hostility, war, but it's also the planet that deals with competition, it deals with energy, it deals with sports, and it is the planet of courage. So we have a choice. Are we going to choose the anger, or are we going to use that Martian power for courage to change and transform? So all the planets actually have a negative and a positive meaning. And when I do a reading for people, yes, I give them a reading that is empowering to focus on the good, where they can go with this and expand it and make their life better. And avoid some of the pitfalls, and through growth and conscious awareness, this is where your life could go. And there's cycles when you need to pull back, and there's cycles when you need to push forward. These are all part of the ebb and flow of energy. And nothing goes forward 100 miles an hour all the time. There's an ebb and a flow. And I often talk about planets that you probably heard of Mercury retrograde. When planets pull back and turn a different direction, they do it in relationship to Earth, where the planets are transiting against each other or by each other. They appear to go backwards, even though they don't. And that just means that that planetary energy, it's time to pull back and review and reassess things, reflect. So that will make you better in the long run when it's time to move forward 100%. So I look at astrology as looking at the tides of times when the cycles are good for certain things. And it's always good. It's just that people need to know what they're good for.
Where is the next up and coming um, consciousness hub of planet Earth? And consciousness, not just like, people are eating granola, but like a place that's like, that place is a vibe. Like, I want to go there. Like, I want to get a villa in that spot and post up, because the next 5, 10 years, this place is going to come up.
Yeah, this is an excellent question because I look at and I teach a lot of classes on the three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. In Vedic astrology, which I am a sidereal Vedic astrologer, which is the astrology from India, it's different than Western tropical, and it uses the true placements of the planets. But this ancient system didn't originally include the outer planets. And a lot of the astrologers today say you shouldn't include them, but they're necessary because here's what I'm getting at. When I look at an individual's chart, the planets that are visible to the naked eye, which is all the way out to Saturn, they do dictate how things are going to evolve in your life. But the three outer planets deal with the collective unconscious. So when they aspect each other, they actually deal with world events. And this, of course, affects us. Now, these world events, it's like in the 1960s, we had Uranus and Pluto come together, which represented this revelation of consciousness where there was so much rebellion against the status quo or the conservatism and wars, and that created a radical change on Earth. And and then the Neptune Uranus came together in the early 90s, and that created this huge transitional change in technology. It's where everybody started using a cell phone and changed the world. So these outer planets, as they come together and form aspects, they create these monumental changes, and even in consciousness, because they affect the collective. And and even though this isn't two outer planets aspecting each other, but this year, Neptune, which is an outer planet, will be stationing with Saturn throughout this year. And particularly right now, this is what's happening. Neptune represents the illusion, and Saturn is reality. You put them together, people are waking up from an illusion. And you're going to find that the events and things that are occurring will predict this. Another thing that I'm predicting with the Saturn Neptune coming together, Saturn rules things under the earth while Neptune rules the oceans. And they're going to be stationing, meaning they both turn retrograde the first 2 weeks of July, which I've been predicting a major tsunami with earthquakes. And a lot of people have been pointing to Japan. So something's due with this, with these two planets. So in the level of awareness and consciousness, I do see where things are changing, but I want to say there's a big event due to happen in 2026 that will change our consciousness. Now, this will be particularly around February and September of 2026. What will be happening will be that Uranus will be trining Pluto, two outer planets. And this represents a shift in power and rulership in the world. Jupiter will aspect them at the same time in 2026 by opposition. Pluto and Jupiter will oppose. I'm seeing a level of awareness in 2026 that we've been hoping for and will happen.
What does that look like geographically? Are you able to see into like astrocartography type things? Does that relate into your world? And that's my question or curiosity. Is there a place that's like on the come up or in the present, but it's like this place is becoming more and more of like a center on the planet, a good place to buy real estate, a good place just to
Yeah.
live because the energy of that place is like kind of, swirling extra good.
Yeah, you got a good point. I haven't really analyzed that so much as this
Okay.
coming alignment in terms of countries. But I will say this, if it affects your chart personally, you've got a major event happening that will deal with financial gains and power. And I've seen it in some of my clients' charts, and I'm like, wow, you have no idea. This is the time to make your move because it's going to be amazing.
Hmm. How how can a person tap into some of the wisdom that you have? And like, is there like an app, or is there a can we reach out to you specifically? Like, how does a person wants to? Are there other people that you'd recommend? Like, is what percentage of astrologers are bullshit? What percentage do you think are good? Like, how does it, if a person wants to, like, okay, I'm going to kind of explore this, like, I'm probably not going to, maybe bet, my house on a reading, but maybe it's some
Right.
intuition to heed. Like, what percentage of people sharing astrology and such are bullshit versus worth trusting?
A lot. A lot are bullshit. Let me tell you why. There are actually there's no like government that will say, if you've taken this course, if you've done this work, you prove yourself. That here's the thing, Aaron. So many people go onto YouTube, they read a few books, they think they're astrologers. They have not gone through any certification, taken the test, or proved themselves. And that would be probably more than half of the people that you see on YouTube or anywhere that put up their shingle, I'm an astrologer. But because of that, I devised a school. And I've had my online school for at least 10 years. And it's an entire certification program through me. And it has semesters. I teach everything that I want people to know. And at the end of this course, they either they pass or they don't pass. If they don't pass, they have to go back and repeat everything, not everything, but prove to me that you know all the knowledge that's in my course. It takes about a year to complete, but it's a rigorous course, seriously. And I wish that there were something out there that would define whether you're certified, whether you've taken the courses, whether you know your stuff, because there's so much junk out there. It's like anybody can go out there and claim to be an astrologer. And that really bugs me. So I love that you brought that point out. So my school will fine tune and make sure people know. Now, another thing, a lot of people don't want to be an astrologer, but they want to use good astrology. So, because there's only one of me, and I also recommend my students that have graduated from my school as well, but I also have, it's not exactly an app, but it's like an app because a lot of people want this tool to direct their life. I created something called the Galactic Planner. And the Galactic Planner is where I have written with one of my students, we have come together and we have written over 15,000 translations of astrological alignments. And what happens is when you put in your birth information, and you have to have your birth time, everything is to a T, it will calculate your chart and it will apply all the transits and aspects that I've been talking about to your chart, and it will give you daily predictions. And the thing that I think is special about this app is it's not necessarily an app. It goes into your personal calendar and gives you all the predictions of what to expect for each day. So you can be guided by the stars. But the other thing is, before I leave this subject, my school, University of Vedic Astrology.com, is starting a new semester in August 6th. So people that really have a passion to learn this, yes, you can become my student and learn this. But those that just want to use astrology and can't get in for readings, use the galactic planner. It's galacticplanner.com. So those two things I wanted to put out there. Those are what I love and what I put all my energy and passion into.
All right, that's cool. That's good to know. Yeah, because I think that's something. It's kind of like seeing like a personal trainer or massage therapist or something. Like it could be. There's a lot of range within the individual that you're seeing, and I presume it would be similar with astrology. Do you? Is there a way to predict what's happening with AI? Is AI predicted in the charts, and is there a way to predict the direction of AI? Would it be associated to perhaps a awakening of humanity and consciousness? Could it be predicted to go towards perhaps an enslavement of humanity and consciousness? Perhaps some blend? What is AI to
Okay.
humanity?
I love that you asked this too. Currently, AI is terrible with astrology. I think it's way too new because I looked at a lot of the AI interpretations lately, and they were completely wrong. They said that certain planets were conjunct right now that were not. So AI is not there yet for
Oh no, no.
astrology.
I'm asking what is AI within the charts, not how does AI read your charts.
Oh,
Yeah. Like what has AI predicted for humanity of like, oh, there's gonna be some crazy singularity
I
event type
see.
thing happening, and is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
singularity
you
event
know,
that may be AI going towards a direction of human enslavement or human awakening?
yes, I think yes on one level, but here's one thing that I do know, and it's not necessarily astrology that predicts this, but AI doesn't have a soul. I mean, people keep thinking it's going to take over. It can't without a soul. Yes, intellectually, and it can screw with our minds and screw with many things, but if it doesn't have a soul, it's not what a human is, and will never take over that. But even though this isn't what you asked, I do want to say this. I see AI being remarkable for astrology in the future because I have to go do all this research. Anytime I make a major prediction, for example, when I went back that 18 and a half year cycle, we have to do the research. What happened before? So, in my research for trying to predict earthquakes with astrology, I go back manually. Have to go back to all of the earthquakes happen every all the time, but the major ones that are 9 point something to 10 point something. I would go back, I would figure out what planetary alignments caused the earthquake. Is it going to be happening in the future? This is the kind of research you do. So, so to use AI can go back and figure all this up without us having to do all the manual work. And in the future, I see AI being able to predict these things precisely when an earthquake could happen or when certain events could happen because it will do all the research from prior events from thousands of years. And this will articulate and really help with the precision of using the energy of astrology. But for it to take over, I see a lot of technological advances coming up, major, major ones. But AI is not going to take over our world.
What do you see in the chart of Elon Musk?
Oh, I love that you asked that because I actually did a reading on YouTube about his chart. And one thing I see about Elon Musk, coming up. And this will be in a few years, just in a few years. He will get more involved in health and healing. And and I don't mean putting electrodes in the brain. No, I mean he is going to, with his brilliance, figure out healing. And this will, of course, upset the world because, the drug companies are not going to like this. But there's something about healing that I see coming that deals with vibration and frequency. And looking at Elon Musk's chart, he has Jupiter Neptune conjunction in the sixth house of health and healing. Neptune is spiritual and vibrational. Jupiter magnifies it. So I see him going towards some new discoveries in health and healing. And it looks nothing like the kind of health and healing that exists today. It deals with vibrational frequencies.
Hmm. What do you think about his companies? What do you think about going to Mars? What do you think about Tesla, SpaceX, all that stuff? Tesla in particular.
Well, personally, Tesla, the stock,
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this, but I'd say when it goes down, in which all the stocks will primarily go down, invest in it because I see it going way up next year. Yes. As a matter of fact, I've already done so. I don't know if I should say that. Back in April when it had that plummet. So, but I say his companies, especially with Tesla, are going to take off. But the whole thing about going to Mars, I don't know about that. I don't think that's necessary. I think he needs to stay put and figure out how to help humanity here on Earth. That's an opinion though.
I agree. I agree with that. What do you think about the chart of Donald Trump?
Donald Trump. Oh my gosh, I get in trouble every time I say this. So, because you know what? There's so many people that just really want to hate him. And And something changed in him. It really did. I think from the time that he almost died, something clicked. But here's the thing. His chart, now I do think he needs to be really cautious. He could have another hit. All right. But I don't think it will kill him. I personally think, whether you like him or not, looking at his chart, I always tell my students, and you know what? They forgive me with this. They're okay with this. Donald Trump's chart is the best tool for teaching astrology because everything in his chart works like clockwork. It's just such an easy chart to decipher. He's got all these planets in the 10th house, which is work, career, but these planets in the 10th house represent this extreme behavior and ego. But all at the same time, when these planets are going to transit around in 2026, I think what you're going to see, whether you like him or not, he's going to bring the world around to a good place. And I say that and I get attacked all the time, but we will see. And here's another thing I say, Aaron, and I have even family members that don't like me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. 20 years from now, when all the emotions gone, we'll look back just like we do with Reagan, because y'all weren't around. I was around when President Reagan was running for president. People hated him. Now they're looking back like he was a great guy. He was a great president. They'll do that in the distant future as well.
Do you predict any major? Do you have any specific major news that will arise with like celebrity people or anything of the sort? That's kind of that. Or is it that specific?
I do see that, and I get this because of that Mars K2 this month being in Leo. Leo rules leaders and rulers. I'm not talking about any celebrities. I'm talking about people that run countries, as well as people in the line of the service, such as warriors for countries. There will be some terrible things happen. Someone could die, assassination, and it will put the world in shock and probably some type of mourning. I see this happening. This could happen July or August.
You think that? So you think this next July August timeframe? It seems like there's some crazy stuff
Right
going on.
now.
Is your very strong prediction? So we'll see how this pans out. So it's
Yeah,
kind
we
of
will.
exciting. It's kind of exciting because
Yeah, we're,
typically when people make predictions and stuff like that, it's like in the year 2045 or whatever. And by the time it's like, oh, you're like next month, next 3 weeks to 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 7 weeks, like there's going to
yeah,
be some
that's
stuff.
why the timing for this video is really apropos because, here we are. You're right.
That's pretty ballsy or labia-y.
I'm that way. You know what? Astrology works. I'm not shy about putting my predictions out. Most people are too afraid they're going to be wrong. Um, I know astrology works. So I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying it's astrology.
So you read my chart, which I appreciate. Is there anything in relation to that you mentioned, like past lives and such, and like purpose, reasons for being here? Is there anything that you gathered from that would be interesting information for me?
Well, I think I told you this life has great lessons for you, particularly in the area of relationships. And that's what you've come here to heal, whether you like it or not. And you will. There's going to be a great healing for this. But career wise, I mean, you're on a roll, but the issues that you're here to really heal and work on that you left unfinished from past lives is relationships.
Hmm. How will that look? Just
It
a lot of
looks
lot of trauma.
no, I think you've learned your lessons well. And that's why I see where there's a healing in that area.
Yeah. All right. Is there any things that other things that stand out that you're seeing that would be interesting or supportive for people to know about?
Well, the most important thing in astrology supports this because that's why I actually went to study Eastern philosophy and the astrology from India. And that is, we're all here to become aware of who we really are. And that is the power within and our divine connection to what the divine is, because we are all part of that. Call it God, call it the power, the force, whatever you want to call it. We are all part of that divine force. And astrology, I got to tell you this. This is amazing. Astrology's taught me this more than any spiritual subject or religion, because when I realized that the ancient Vedic scriptures actually mention Vedic astrology, and that in the ancient Vedic scriptures, which are called the Vedas, they talk about astrology. It's called Jyotish. And Jyotish actually means the science of light. And Jyotish, they say, is the eyes of man in the Vedas, which represents, it gives us sight into the darkness. And what I feel astrology is to wake us up to the inevitable realization of who we really are, and that is the divine. Astrology has really connected me with that light and that understanding. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Oh, it's great. I think
okay.
that's something that I resonate with very much. It's like you already are the thing. Like if you want to be like a self actualized, Maslow's hierarchy, come to the point of self actualization. It's like you already are that. It's just a process of releasing that which you are not. So you are not the fear, you are not the shame, you are not the resentment, you are not the anger, you are not the hatred, you are not the smallness, you are not the insecurity. That is all that you are not. Those are all the lies, those are all the sins. And you already are the thing. It's just a matter of kind of releasing the parts that you are not, I think is, and it's cool when there's tools out there to help us in that path, you know. I really enjoyed getting to have that. I'm looking. I appreciate you being willing to make very assertive predictions that we can actually kind of look back and see. That'll be very exciting. If you were making, obviously, I've been asking a lot about like investment stuff. If you were making an astrologer's investment portfolio for 2025, what would your pie chart look like? What would you be investing? Would you be investing in real estate, residential, commercial, Bitcoin, AI stocks? Like what cash? Just keep
Really,
a bunch of cash because some crazy
I'd
stuff's
say
happening.
all the above, all the above. I tell people, if you invest in the stock market, invest in stocks that you like, the things you want to support in this world. Don't do it just for money, because you got to feel good about what you're doing. Such as, if you like, let's just say you like Elon Musk, then invest in his stocks. If you like Disney, invest in their stock, whatever it is you like and you support. That's the thing, because the stock market is going to go down, but it's going to go up. I think Bitcoin, of course, Bitcoin's going to go down, it's going to go up. So that's the other thing. Oil and gas, that's one thing I didn't mention. Um, there's going to be, with the Neptune Saturn conjunction going on right now, Saturn rules crude oil, Neptune rules oil and gas. They're together. And what I feel like is going to happen, I know that oil and gas, the price is going to go up. So I think their stocks are going to go up. So it may not be, wait and see what happens. But I believe there's going to be one of the straits or the seas are going to be closed off, probably by Iran, that's going to affect the supply and need for oil and gas. This is going to really be a difficult time for that. So fuel prices are going to go up, but I think probably the stocks in oil and gas are going to go up too. So if they do go down, the stocks that is, then it is the time to buy, because the demand is really going to be high. We're going to see some major problems. I also see a lot of shipwrecks and problems with supply with oil and gas, and even explosions, possibly with pipelines or anything to do with oil and gas too. And gold is always a good thing. And yeah, real estate prices are coming down. So it could be a time to buy, not sell, um, but real estate is good. Um, we're going to see a good economy in a year. That's what I see.
Yeah, cool,
Okay.
good stuff. I appreciate you. So you can, where should people go from here if they want to go deeper into your work?
My website is galacticcenter.org. You can find about all of my offerings, getting readings, which I'm booked for quite a while. Readings. My university is universityofvedicastrology.com, but on Galactic Center, you can find everything there. And especially, I also have a Patreon group, which is a spiritual community where I brought people of like-mindedness that come together. We have live classes where we talk every week. It is just an amazing spiritual community of people. So all of that is on galacticcenter.org. And go to my YouTube channel where I do a lot of these predictions. And that's my name, Joni Patry.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joni Patry. I
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
And